This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
Welcome, Alphas. Thanks for joining us. We have a great show for you today. Our guest, Monica Bassett, the founder and CEO of Stronghold Food Pantry, is a military food insecurity expert and a dedicated advocate for military families facing this issue.
Yeah, did you know that actually Monica Bassett and my former co-host Ashley Gutermuth are good pals, and Ashley has done a lot of work for food insecurity previously and does that now. So it's kind of nice to have that link and to have Monica on the show. I'm really looking forward to getting to chat with her.
I think that that's cool because it's odd how often the world of like people who are involved in nonprofit supporting veterans overlaps. You know, sometimes you'll just run into the same 2 or 3 people 3 or 4 times doing 4 or 5 different things. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of great because, you know, it's everybody's got the same heart.
Yeah, all those dang do-gooders doing good things all the time, right?
Oh, I do it to compensate for my sins.
Well, that's why you're working so hard, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I haven't sinned about, like, I don't have anything that I'm hiding yet, but I'm building up a stronghold so that when I do something, like Joe kicked a bunch of puppies and be like, yeah, but he's done a lot of good too.
Yeah, speaking of hiding out, Adam is hiding out in Saskatchewan, I hear.
I heard that he went from snipe hunting down in South Dakota straight to that. He's not giving up. He's really working on himself here.
Yeah, I think our super producer Holly, you know, she's a big Sasquatch fanatic. And what better place to look for a Sasquatch than in Saskatchewan? Or am I making is that
Well,
what they
the
were
perfect crime. It's the perfect crime. It's the perfect place to hide. No one's going to look for the place named after you.
True. Well, everybody, while Adam is off looking for the elusive Sasquatch, Joe and I are going to take a quick break. Alpha, stick around. We'll be back right after the break.
Veterans, did you know that hearing loss and tinnitus are 2 of the top service-connected disabilities? Did you also know that there's a strong relationship between hearing loss and social isolation, and that can impact your health? In his national strategy to advance social connection, Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy expressed his commitment to combating the significant health consequences of isolation and loneliness, which he called an epidemic. Strong connections can help mitigate the many potential negative health effects of hearing loss. The Heroes with Hearing Loss program, provided by Hamilton Captel, supports veterans facing the challenges of hearing loss by sharing solutions that keep us connected. One of those solutions is Caption Telephone, which allows veterans to listen and read what is said over the phone, making it easier than ever to connect with those who matter most. As a part of the Heroes with Hearing Loss program, Caption Telephones are available at no cost for veterans. For more information, including eligibility requirements, visit heroeswithhearingloss.org.
Today, we are joined by Stronghold Food Pantry founder and CEO, Monica Bassett. Monica, welcome to the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Well, you have mentioned the importance of preserving anonymity. I love that word. And dignity for military families seeking help. And when I was doing the research on you and learning more about you, I just want you to know how much I love, absolutely adore. This is so in my heart what you're doing. And so I want to commend you on that. And I'm very curious, how do you guys ensure that the Stronghold remains a safe and stigma-free space for those in need? Because when I was a corpsman with 2-1 Marines, I got injured in Iraq in 2004, actually 20 years ago now. So for me, I didn't know how to ask for help. And I know that there's a big stigma that I don't know exactly where it comes from, but it's really hard to say, hey, I'm in a bad spot. It's a little easier when it's your family that's suffering. It's like, I can do anything for my family, but it's still, how do you that's a really unique challenge that you have to face as a very, very prideful group of people.
Correct. Yes, and you hit it. And the stigma, I think, my belief, right? Everyone has their own notions of where that comes from, but it's just years and years of our culture, our military culture, cultivating that. It's
Yeah.
years and years of don't ask, don't tell of everything, whether you have financial issues, whether you can't put food on the table, if there is drug abuse, if there is marital issues. It's just you don't ask, don't tell, you grin and bear it, you will figure it out. And that stigma has just personified and carried over the years.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that's where it's come from. I'm the daughter of a Vietnam veteran Marine, so I know it dates back decades.
Yeah.
It is not just something new right now in our culture. And that was one of the main reasons when I started feeding families for my garage. That's how the whole initiative and passion really started. A switch was flipped because I have been the child that has had to go use a food pantry in the past. And it was so shameful. It was so filled with stigma and people whispering, and it was filled with stand in line with 50 other people and everyone can see what door you're going into, that when I decided and the question was posed, do you want to take this into a nonprofit? I said no, but here we are. When that question was posed on, let's expand it, let's help you expand it. It has to be dignified. And it has to be in our mission, because I was not going to move right or left on that one specific thing. It's with dignity and care.
Yeah.
So families sign up anonymously on our website. I am still the only eyes on that. When I do have volunteers help at the pantry, whether it's locally or our ambassador program that is nationwide and actually global right now, we have some ambassadors overseas. They all sign non-disclosures with me. They cannot go home and tell Susie Q that they helped John Smith with
Wow.
food. So everyone has signed non-disclosures that information stays private, it stays secure. And so families go in and sign up anonymously, and we are able to assist them and meet their needs that way. At our local warehouse brick and mortar pantries, which we have 2 of, one in Kansas, one in Missouri, we accommodate in 15-minute increment time slots. So that person, that family, that service member can come in and personally shop, share their life story, have that human connection, be able to build that relationship, that trust, that loyalty, and then they can shop and they leave. Because a lot of the times, it's not just the E4 and below. It's not just
Yeah.
the junior service member. We've helped officers. We have helped higher ranking NCOs. So being able to give them that privatized time, being able to give them that one-on-one connection and listening to their stories really builds that trust, which then allows our name to expand a little further within the community, as this is a trusted resource. They're going to do what they say they're going to do, and they're going to provide equitable resources for everyone.
I love that, because I feel like a lot of times, and I can understand even with officers, because all it takes to double the cost of having a child is for that child to have a very sensitive stomach. And then all of a sudden you're using sensitive baby formula, and that stuff is wild.
Yes.
I mean, it feels like, you're like trying to find people selling it on the street because you can't afford to get, it's bad. When the shortage happened, we actually had a toddler, and we had everybody in our church like helping us find the right stuff, because otherwise he would just spit up everything. So
Absolutely. And
I love what you're doing.
And it gets harder thank you. It gets harder as the years go by. I was talking to a spouse a few months ago, and they were an officer family, but she was like, do you know how expensive it is when my child has an allergy and cannot eat anything that the school provides, that the snacks that the teacher has on hand?
Yeah.
And then if I want my child not to be singled out, not to feel that shame and embarrassment, I then have to go find a Trader Joe's that is typically an hour away from a military installation, because the commissaries don't carry a lot of those allergen-free foods,
Yeah.
and buy snacks for the entire class, so my kid's not singled out. And all of those costs just compounded. it's astronomical. And then you've got a military spouse who isn't working because, they're in transition. It's just factors that added on top of each other create really big stressors on military families.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger, I grew up in a military family, and my family has been a military family all the way back to the Revolutionary War. It's like, it's the family business.
Wow.
And it's so funny that, most people look at the military as being this sort of financially stable when, unless you're E4 or above, you live on the poverty line. I don't know if people really realize that. And it's so ironic as well that people tend to overlook that the majority of junior enlisted people are they're starting their families, and they're at the most financially vulnerable age. So you were earning the least amount, and you were spending the most you will in your life. So I'm, like when I was little, my parents were at their most financially, unstable. And my parents had just divorced. So my mom was obviously had 2 young children, and we were on food stamps, and we were in, going to the food pantry and living off government cheese and in the food line like you were talking about. And it is humbling. And I remember it was it shouldn't be embarrassing. But I remember my mom saying to me, this isn't a permanent solution to this temporary problem. This is something that this is a hand up, not a handout, that we're going to get through this. But that didn't take away the shame I felt with the sort of side eyes and the sneers and those, it felt shameful, and it shouldn't be that way. So what are some of the things that community members should keep in mind when people are using, say, WIC or going to the food pantry? How can communities be more supportive of family members who may be in need, or maybe they want to support Stronghold Food Pantry or other organizations like yours?
Right. Well, you hit on a few things that I wanted to touch on. Not very many people know that military families are going through this. And I think I've said this quite often, especially recently with everything that is happening in political debates and all that stuff. And people just not understanding our lifestyle very well. And it's because military families, we make up the 1% of the entire nation. So our lifestyle, our grievances, the things that we go through and endure get washed away by the other 99% that's happening in the nation. That is the focal point. It is not what military families are going through. So our stories get dwindled down, and that's how we get lost in that space. And it's something that education, promoting, coming on podcasts like this, even though I get very nervous, this is what helps tell our stories. This is what helps sheds a light on it's not what the civilian population really thinks that it is. Our military families, E4 below or above, because I've been noticing that our data, as we get patrons that come through our services and we talk to them, a lot of our higher ranking people are dealing with the teenagers now that are eating more food, that are trying to take SAT tests, and everything is so costly. And so now there isn't even only E4 and below are struggling. It's everyone is living on this line where we're barely making ends meet. And some of the things that I like to share aside from, hey, dig deep, do your research. There are reports out there that share this information that 24% of currently serving military families are facing food insecurity. And here is more research that only within the last 2 to 3 years, we've had more than a 4% pay increase. But when you break down that pay increase, it's about like $40 per paycheck, depending on the service member's rank and base pay. And yes, we have all of these other great things that they say, free healthcare, but we move our military families every 2 to 3 years, and it is not 100% taken care of. And not everything is with the best, most reliable companies. I received my household goods 2 years ago, and there was rain, brown rain, pouring down from the truck. So it was full of mold. There
Yeah.
are those things in those situations that other civilians don't put into account of like, oh, well, your move is paid. Okay, yes, it is paid, but there are so many things that go wrong when you go with the lowest bidder. There are
Sure.
so many out-of-pocket costs. And my big thing is to try to just educate and bring awareness and say, let's grow some compassion and some empathy, because yes, everyone needs a hand up sometime. And some of us don't have our families in our backyard to help us with that. We are
Yeah.
moved around the globe, separated from them. We don't have the grandma and grandpa that can take care of childcare, so I can go try to find employment. It is very difficult. And growing that compassion and that empathy and just awareness for what is happening goes a long way, because whether you need help now as a child or as an adult, it does not define us, and it does not define our situation or our future. It is just a moment in time where we need that support and that compassion from someone else.
So what kind of like, you started Stronghold in your garage and now you're expanding nationwide. What kind of things can, from your experiences of doing that, what kind of things can, say, American Legions do in their own communities, like the things that you inspire them to do, or things that, that
Yes.
maybe in their own communities take influence from you?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I've loved from the Overland Park, the Legion 370 here, that I love is they come to me and they ask, what do you need? What is it? How are you impacting? What is the most beneficial for you to do right now with the services here in Kansas? How can we impact that? Whether it's a pop-up next week on Wednesday. So on Fort Leavenworth, everyone likes to think that it's a schoolhouse. It's where military officers come to be promoted from captain to major. I know it's different in the Navy. Sorry, 03 to 04. I get very confused. So from
Lieutenant?
03 to
I think it's
04.
lieutenant.
Okay, there we
Pretty sure.
go. um, Everyone thinks it's just a schoolhouse. However, in the very back, in the shadows, at the back of the installation, there are 3 military prisons that junior enlisted soldiers have to man on a 24-hour basis. And they live in the shadows, and they don't get all the support that they might be getting at different installations because they know it's a young installation. And so we are going mobile. We are going to them. I fully believe in meeting the service member where they are. They're not going to come to us. That stigma that Joe was saying earlier, it is alive and well. And until they build that relationship with Stronghold, we need to meet them where they are. We need to build that trust. We need to say, we are doing what we say we're going to do. A lot of
Yeah.
our Gen Zers in our new military, they don't want the mouthpiece anymore. They want to make sure action is following. So that American Legion is saying, we will help support and sponsor that entire event. Take them fresh milk, eggs, chicken, ground beef, not just the non-perishables that are sitting on the shelves, but make sure that they get a full adequate meal. And I work with local dietitians, and I try to make sure, okay, if we get this much ground beef, they can do spaghetti night, taco night, and then they can have peanut butter and sandwiches. So I accommodate and I make a full menu for the week.
That's
And
cool.
and then we provide them the groceries for the week. So I think American Legions and auxiliaries across the board can either pair up with, start researching around you, who does the boots on the ground work, right? Who is the one that's actually providing that tangible support, that immediate impact to those families? And how can we support you in doing so? Stronghold is now national, and we started this year with Ashley Guttermuth. We started doing pop-ups because we started noticing that it's not onesies and twosies in certain installations. It's a whole group of 50, 60, 100 military families that are in dire need, like Fort Campbell or JBLM, in these large mass installations with high cost of living. So we have expanded our ambassadorship to do pop-ups. So I encourage some legions, if they do want to partner with Stronghold, hit us up, send us a
That's cool.
message, say, hey, are you doing a pop-up close to me? And if we are, well, then come out and help, do some food drives that will help lower our cost, right, of going out and shopping. And let's partner up, help us distribute this food, help us build those relationships with families. We don't do pack in the car and drive away, because I still remember that that's sort of undignified, right? You just kind of drive up really quickly and people throw food in a car, in the back of a car, and leave. I rent out a space and I have people come in and we build relationships. We let them grow. We set up an entire space like a grocery store, and we make sure that whatever families are coming in that have those allergens, that I go buy lactose-free milk for them, or I get them,
Oh, wow.
almond peanut butter. Yes. I believe that I try to remind myself, right? Because I think in anyone who is doing service or doing a job that they love, you always try to say, I could have done better, or
Yeah.
I could do more. And I try to talk to myself about, what, it's quality of service. It is the impact that we're making. We might not give 500 people a few cans of tuna and some random coloring books, but we give 75 families a full week's worth of groceries where they can say, I never had to go back to the grocery store till the next week. So those are just some things that any American Legion out there can reach out and can say, hey, are you coming up for a pop-up? We'd love to be part of this. Or they can start reaching out to the local pantries around their area to see what services do they do for military families.
I think that one of the things that's scariest about that is that food cost. I mean, regardless, I'm not even going to get into politics, obviously, because it doesn't matter on the ground. We don't have as much. We can vote and that's it, but we still have to eat. And my family, I mean, it sounds wild to me that I'm spending more on food right now for me, my wife, and my 4 kids than I made when we moved out.
Yeah.
And
It's
and
scary.
it's wild to me. And I'm sure there's ways that we could cut back, but it's sad that to eat healthy, it requires us to really, really financially invest. Um,
Yep.
and I think, also you obviously this is something that you started, and it was very personal to you, and it was kind of small. It was out of your garage,
Mhm.
but how do you keep like that love and that feeling? Because the whole point of it is to be able to show that. So as you're growing and as your business model is literally wrapped around you
Yep.
running out of work, your goal is to have nothing to do. Like at the
Right.
end of the day, you would love to have a day is like, we got one family today, and then they're actually good. They're moving to so and so. She's got a great job. Like,
Yeah.
that would be the perfect ending to all this. But we obviously have a great deal of work to do before anything like that could happen.
Mhm.
How do you keep that personal connection as you scale?
First and foremost, always making sure that it's a priority. And if I have to say that I get asked often, from people that want to give grants or donations or sponsors, right, that want to push hey, come and open one up over here, come do this.
Yeah.
And
You're
people
like, make
first.
your own, bro.
Yeah. And for me, it's always, if people first.
Yeah.
If I keep that at the forefront, people first, our military families first. And if that means kind of what I said earlier, that I'm not serving 500 people, it means that I'm serving with quality 75, 100, then that's the impact that I want to make. But I have been bringing on volunteers as we grow, but I am very particular. I'll be very honest. They need to be very well vetted
Yeah.
in their installations by people I know and trust, to allow us to grow in that way. Because this space, food insecurity, treating families who need support, is a very sensitive space.
Yeah.
And not everyone is cut out for it. So sometimes I have volunteers that I shift over to say, guess what? You're going to do warehouse work, or you're going to stock. That's your jam. That's where you shine,
Yeah.
organizing. or you're going to do my social media, or, you're going to be my CFO, right? My CFO is phenomenal, but he will on any day say, do not put me in front of people.
Yeah.
I have like slight ADHD. It's not going to be great,
And just talk to everybody the whole day and not get anything done. Yeah.
Yes. And he's very black and white. So he also never shows emotion. So, I find what people are good at. I find what they excel in, and I try to make sure I place them in those right roles. I think that is what every leader should be doing. Before I did this, before my military spouse role threw me into building this, I was a corporate executive director and I built teams. I built successful teams, and knowing what everyone is good at and knowing what their growth potential could be, could put them in the right roles. So as we expand slowly, and we expand with mission and passion first. And
with foundation.
Absolutely. That's just, if I don't grow any other warehouses and I just grow ambassadors, and that's what it's going to be. It's whatever is actually making the impact. It's not about funding. It's not about, how many do you have to say this is what you did? No, it's about the impact. And that is how I build my teams as well. It is about the right people in the right places and the right impact that we make for military families. It's not about me. It's not about any particular organization. It's about what the mission started for.
My favorite bosses my whole life that I've ever worked for were really good at building teams and not just trying to hire rock stars. Because if you have somebody that can come in and I mean, it's great if you have someone that can bring in $200,000 a year in donations. It's another thing if they don't get along with everyone else.
1,000%.
And so I feel like your ability to stick to keeping it personal as you grow shines through. We can see that in you. We can see the passion, and I'm here for it. And you're not somebody that wants to jump up in front of everybody, obviously, and get an award or anything like that. But I will say it takes people like you to get stuff done, to just get stuff done. And so I love and appreciate everything that you're doing. And if there's anything that the Legion can do to support your efforts, please reach out. We have all your social media handles and links and that we've talked about in the show notes, but is there a website where our alphas can go to learn more about your work?
Absolutely. So www.strongholdfoodpantry.org. So our stuff is on there, and obviously, like you said, our social media handles. As soon as I get someone to come on and take that off my plate, I'd be very appreciative. So if you guys know anyone,
can we buy the shirt? Show us the shirt. Can we buy it?
Oh, this is the OG shirt. So this is like step one. I don't know what I'm doing. They really want me to make a nonprofit, but I'm kind of scared and don't want to. So we are November 22nd. We will be 2 years old. And,
nice.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm excited. I don't know what other crazy person decides to open a food pantry 2 weeks or like right before Thanksgiving. Yes. And then Christmas. I don't know. And it was just me and my 2 children, and fun times. But we served over 125 service members in those 2 weeks.
That's incredible.
I do these things. I jump into things and just don't know what I'm doing, but it gets done.
Well, I want to say, from somebody who's gone hungry and knows what that is, and who knows what it is to feel that humility, I want to reach out to anybody who's listening, who's feeling that pang of hunger, to know that there's no shame in asking for help. It is not a handout. It is a hand up. And just remember that there are wonderful people like Monica who are here to help and to give you that hand up. Okay. So do the right thing for yourself and for your family. Reach out to strongholdfoodpantry.com. There are resources for you, and we're here to help. So thank you, Monica. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your story as well.
Of course. All right, Alpha, stick around. We're going to be right back with some scuttlebutt after the break.
As a veteran, you've done more than your fair share of providing support. Now it's our turn. Introducing the WellCare and the American Legion Partnership, and the WellCare Medicare Advantage plans that give you more support, more access, and more benefits in addition to your VA benefits. Visit wellcareforveterans.com today or call 844-917-1165. Ohana Health Plan, a plan offered by WellCare Health Insurance of Arizona, Inc. New Mexico Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan, DSNP members. As a WellCare by Allwell DSNP member, you have coverage from both Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid services are funded in part by the state of New Mexico. New Mexico Medicaid benefits may be limited to payment of Medicare premiums for some members.
All right, Alphas. We hope you had a fantastic break. It is now time for some SCUTTLEBUTT.
As Monica highlighted, food insecurity is a real issue for military families. Many veterans face this issue, as well as including younger veterans with families and older veterans on fixed incomes.
Yeah.
But there are Legion families across the country who can often need help. In Peoria, Arizona, back in June, John J. Morris, Post 62, partnered with Borderlands Produce on Wheels Without Waste, or POW. WOW. Now that's a mouthful. Can you say that fast?
Pow wow.
Pow wow.
I love that.
POW. Pow wow. A program where event supporters make a cash contribution of at least $15 and take home up to 70 pounds of rescued produce. During the June powwow, all veterans were given their food for free.
Wow.
Over 25,000 pounds of food were distributed, and the event was so successful that the hundreds of cars lined up for the food overwhelmed the facility and caused a 2-mile backup. The distribution was the final event of a 1-year partnership between the Post and the Borderlands Produce. Over 250,000 pounds of food was distributed, feeding thousands of veterans and families in the community. I think that's a gigantic, big-time Bravo Zulu to Post 62.
That is both heartening and disheartening that there's a 2-mile backup of people that are in that much in need. And it also, I think, highlights the fact that food insecurity isn't a food issue, it's a distribution and attention issue.
Mhm.
It's something that we have to really be mindful of. And I mean, you can ask my kids, I've threatened to weigh the food that that they have thrown away because I don't think they get it. And it really stresses me out. But then again, on the other side of things, I always clear my plate for better or for worse.
Right. Well, I think that's also generational too. Do you remember when I was younger, and I think my grandparents came from a time where it was the waste not, want not.
Yeah.
Whatever's put on your plate, you had to finish.
Yeah.
And so when I sit down, if I put something on my plate, I always felt like I had to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still grapple with that. If I go to a restaurant and, with that sort of American's mentality of this, bigger is better, the sense of having to overeat or to finish my plate,
Yeah.
I struggle so bad. Like, I have to really force myself to put the fork down. But, when I see people who are going hungry, I also struggle with that too. And knowing that there are programs out here like Powwow and Generous Hearts, like those at Post 62, and it really warms my heart that things are happening like this. And if we could do more of that, it would be wonderful.
Maybe we can get some of the people that were in Temple of the Dog to come down and do a concert. You remember that song, that I'm going hungry?
I'm going hungry.
I'm glad you hit the high note. I wasn't going for that.
No,
I wasn't going for that. But I agree with you. Bravo Zulu. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the Navy has been caught with their pants down. And I don't think this is the first time.
Well, I think it's probably not the first time for you, at least.
I don't get caught. That's why we're doing all the. Okay. So in August, multiple news outlets reported the U.S. Navy had run out of pants. The official Navy working uniform. Yeah, they're out of pants. I'm wondering if it's they didn't get enough or they've ruined too many issue.
Okay. My mind went in a few different directions there. Continue.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Would you care to elaborate? No. The official Navy working uniform, or the NWU, camouflage trousers are out of stock. This is the uniform permitted for wear on the job and out in public, but the Navy Exchange has run dry and only new recruits have been issued new pants since the end of August. So sailors have been doing the no pants dance for 2 months while waiting for an October restock. Now, let me ask you this. In your expert opinion in the military, if you did not have access to a full uniform, would you add in a piece of the wrong uniform, or would you literally walk outside without pants?
I would
You
have
had to, if you had like fire drill, you have to walk out of the
I would
building.
be wearing a mismatched set of uniform. I would not. I would,
Really?
or I would just call out, because nobody would want to see me out of uniform, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has different tastes. but seriously though, I think you'd probably get in more trouble for a mismatched uniform on some level, but I think at the point where you're out of pants, it's probably best to just put something on, or be like switch into your, go to a uniform inspection in your PTs, like in your PT gear.
Yeah,
Because at
I
least
think
you're in
at
a
some
full
point
uniform.
they would have to make a waiver of some sort. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue comes down to the Defense Logistics Agency, or the DLA, that manages the procurement and distribution of things like Navy uniforms. Who's making the pants? DLA spokespeople blame the shortage on vendor issues. I wonder what the vendors have to say. Why don't you hop in and let us know in the chat if you're one of those vendors that are being
I feel
blamed for
like
this?
these things are always in like air quotes. You know what
Yeah.
happens though? Whenever the new chiefs of staff come into office, there's always some stinking uniform change.
Mm-hmm.
There's some big uniform change or a print change.
Yeah.
There was the DCU, the ABU, some tactical uniform change. And I think it's because someone was like, well, we could really use a contract change, and this vendor needs some money, or this contractor needs some money. I think it's all money driven, but that's my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I mean that's why you have like
take my tinfoil hat off. Carry on.
Listen, I used to not even keep tinfoil in the house, but like the more access to information we have, the more I'm starting to realize somebody's been playing games with us for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe in all that stuff, but there was a comedian. I wish I could find it, but he's like, he's like, I don't believe in all conspiracy theories, but you really gonna sit there and tell me that the government's batting 1,000, telling us the truth? Like,
no.
That's impossible. We've missed something somewhere.
Yeah.
So, vendor issues, quotes. The Marine Corps went through similar shortages for 2 years with its woodland camouflage uniforms. Who was even wearing those? Was that just?
Oh, sorry. Sidebar, Joe, and you were Navy, so maybe you have an answer for this. Why on earth, when the Navy went to that blue, that sort of really dark navy blue digital pattern, why would they choose that color when if somebody fell overboard into the water, would you want to blend in with the stinking water? You think they would go with Dayglow orange?
Well, that's why they teach them to swim. It's for the sharks. It's to keep the sharks from being able to see you. Oh I made that up. Did it sound like I knew what I was talking about?
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah, I'm glad you're not fooled. So the lack of uniform pants may be a small issue. I don't know that it is, but it signals deeper problems that could affect U.S. military effectiveness in more critical areas. Now, look, don't worry. We'll have you your weapons. Just fight without pants till October. We're gonna get you guns and ammo, I swear.
No, you know what? This feels strategic. They're like, how are we going to get an edge on the enemy? Slowly smoke stogie in the background. Take off your pants. Distract them all. Take your pants off. Now send them forward.
Send them. Let loose.
Forward march.
Let loose the pantsless men of war. Send them forth, cheeks out for victory.
You can take our pants, but you never take our freedom. Okay.
It's drafty.
Make sure it's a warm weather climate. Give them
warm weather. I would hate to low crawl.
Oh.
I got more jokes to follow that up. You do them yourself. All right.
Lots of figures.
So the lack of uniform pants may be a small issue, but it does signal deeper problems that could affect U.S. military effectiveness in more critical areas. We're too big for our britches. So the uniforms in question are among the most used of every member of the U.S. Navy. The government simply ran out and won't have any for 2 months, and that's astounding. The Marine Corps was made to do without its Ubiquitous woodland camo garb for 2 years is even more shocking. These shortages are happening at a time when the military needs reliable and stable supply chains. Like, all joking aside, that's like a symbol of a bigger problem. So what happens when there's a critical shortage of ammunition for onboard close-in weapons, defense systems, or fleet-wide delay in delivery of torpedoes, or worse, manicotti? What if they run out of manicotti? People could die.
Well, if we can't keep the noodles covered, then we certainly can't keep noodles stocked. So I'm just saying.
You are so profound. That's what I love about you, Stacy. You are profound.
Yeah. You're sauced on either side.
We're going to have links to both of these stories in our show notes. So you want to take it over here? You got the rest of this?
Well, I would summarize it this way. We should continue to help our communities and keep our people fed.
Yeah.
And if there are any ways that we can do that, follow Post 62's example.
Mhm.
And for all of you folks who are out there weaving materials for our nation's military, we thank you. All joking aside, we know that there are difficulties with supply chains, and there are probably things well above Joe's and my pay grade that are happening. So all joking aside, we appreciate all that you do. Air quotes for the vendors issues. Well, hopefully those get resolved quickly, because we know that everything is important to keeping our military well supplied and to their safety and security and the security of this great nation. So we want to make sure that all of those who are on the front lines today, making our borders safe for tomorrow, we wish you a happy and safe night, and look forward to seeing you next time. All right, Alphas. Thanks for listening, and you can subscribe to the podcast, our newsletter, and send us some mail and guest recommendations at legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Yeah.